This is We Prepare, and you'll be listening to a Q&A with Tyler Chen from Dartmouth. So we have a couple questions, and then if any of the people watching want to add questions at the end, feel free to. Just send me a chat privately or in the everyone chat. So, um, I first have a couple questions about your college life because I'm pretty interested in knowing what Dartmouth is like.
Okay.
So, um, I first want to know just what time in high school did you start visiting colleges?
Um, I visiting colleges specifically, I only visited two universities out of my own accord. So it was Northwestern and Chicago just because it's conveniently nearby. But I think something that my friend told me was very useful was you should really only go visit schools. Oh, I guess you can go visit beforehand, especially if schools value demonstrated interest, but it does cost a lot of money to travel and all that. So if it's try to visit out of pure convenience, like I said, Chicago is really close to us. If you happen to be on vacation somewhere, let's say California, maybe stop along Stanford, all that fun stuff, or the UCs. And of course, given I assume that most people here are from the Chicagoland area and are part of the Chicago Naperville, the school systems and whatnot. If you go and do competitions, that's a great way to get to know U of I as well, stuff like that.
All right, thanks. And then my second question is that how'd you just know that you wanted to go to Dartmouth out of all the colleges that accepted you?
Yeah, for sure. So Dartmouth was definitely first of all, the big thing that kind of separates Dartmouth in particular from a lot of other schools right off the bat is the fact that it is Dartmouth College, not Dartmouth University. So you are getting an undergraduate focused education at Dartmouth, compared to other schools which might put more emphasis on graduate learning. So examples such as, everyone knows about Harvard Med and Harvard Law and all that, while their undergraduate experience might not be as high caliber as, say, their grad schools, just because all the funding goes to the grad schools and all that. That isn't to say that Harvard isn't a very good undergraduate experience, but that's something to be careful about in terms of choosing which schools to go to. Second of all, you should really take a look at individual programs at different schools. So, going back to the Harvard example, there are definitely a lot of departments that would be really good at Harvard, but there are also probably a lot of departments that would be a lot better at other schools. Example, everyone, UIUC CS is a very robust and good CS program, and it's very renowned in CS students or aspiring CS students. But coming from outside the state, in particular, people who aren't necessarily as I don't know, educated, if that's the right word about it. UIUC is just an Illinois state school. So always be on the lookout for different programs that attract you in particular rather than the name of a school. Dartmouth in particular is a little bit more unique just because it is a liberal arts school. So it's a little bit more broadly developed across all departments. And yeah, also some finance things. Talk to your parents about it. That's something ultimately you will decide. I know that colleges can also assess your financial aid options. That's something your colleges will let you know about it. But that's something that's outside of choosing a college for its characteristics.
And then just after that question, I just want to ask what's it just kind of how are the dorms there, how are classes, how is it, especially during COVID right now, which is really weird.
Yeah, for sure. So, one thing that Dartmouth does differently from what I've heard from a lot of other schools is that at other schools, pricing for different dorms varies based on the dorm that you choose. So, I know at MIT, if you use one dorm versus another, if you get a single versus double, it's going to be more expensive for a single rather than sharing a room. Dartmouth, there's no such thing as that. All housing, all dorms cost the same amount of money. But that being said, you are you don't have a lot of autonomy in terms of choosing your dorms. You kind of get shuffled into whatever housing community you get like, I don't know, assigned in your first year, and you kind of get stuck with that housing community with the rest of your 4 years, which isn't a bad thing by chance. It's just that's how the system works here. But with that being said, there are some dorms that are definitely a lot older than others, just because Dartmouth is 200 plus years old. Um, there are some dorms that are nicer than others, just because new dorms being built in like the last 5 years or the last 50 years. But that's really out of your control. You shouldn't really also pick your college based on the dorm quality, if that makes sense. So always education always comes first. And especially in COVID right now, most classes are online. It's just the way it is with for like, I don't know, supporting public health measures. But I know a lot of courses are still maintaining a lot of good discussions and all that on a Zoom format. I know some classes will definitely transfer over to Zoom a lot easier than others. So like your CS classes and stuff like that, while other like the natural sciences and stuff like that might be a little bit more difficult. But that's the current situation across most of the country right now. So there's nothing you can really do about it. But overall, it's been a good experience so far. I can't give much other information just because this is my first year. I got fed into the Zoom system. So maybe in like the future years, it might become more apparent the difference between in-person versus online learning is.
Alright, now, just like kind of going into more like college application stuff. Just like
Yeah, of course.
how many colleges did you like apply to?
Personally, I applied to 19 schools. 19 is a large number, but you know those annoying student search service emails you guys all get from College Board? A lot of them, you shouldn't directly throw them all in the trash, but a lot of them will have, let's say, free application waiver fees. So that's another $75 you can save on an application. Some of those emails might even say like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to write this essay anymore. That's a lot of work off your plate. So always be, don't, there are a lot of emails and a lot of them aren't going to be useful at all. But if you do find like useful emails, that could be, I don't know, a money saver in the future. You know, like my Rice University application became free because that email that I saw. So just things like that to consider. And then I was going in on the pre-health track, which is a big thing at NIQA. I don't know about if there are other students here from other schools, but at NIQA, there's a pretty significant pre-health community, so that also added to some of it, especially when you're considering BSMD programs and all that stuff. But my final number came in at 19 just from looking at those extra schools I could add on because of those fee waivers and all that, as well as considering I was applying to some BSMD programs as well.
Just like last about college apps. Did you do early admission or restricted early admission?
I did not do either restrictive early action or early decision, because that kind of, for me personally, finances were a bit of an issue, and you can kind of pigeonhole or like dig yourself into a hole if you get accepted into an early admission school. Again, this is something, early decision school. Again, this is something to consider with your parents specifically. But if you do have the financial means to do so, by all means. But another thing is I didn't want to be restricted. I didn't want to restrict myself to one school. I didn't know what school I wanted to go to. There was not like one quote unquote dream school that I really wanted to go to. And I felt like early decision would have overly restricted myself from other options that might end up becoming what I actually really wanted to go to.
Cool. And then I know like a lot of people like are in extracurriculars. I know that you were on the exec board for Model UN. I'm not too sure about what else you were in, but like how'd you kind of like start off in your clubs, and then how'd you like get to the point where you were able to get leadership in them?
Yeah, for sure. So I think something that should be emphasize is that you really want to have fun in your clubs. And of course, achieving leadership positions is also something you should really consider, but you want to have clubs that you can dedicate yourself meaningfully towards because part of the college admissions process is the essays, right? And that's also a really important part, arguably more important than everything else that you fill out because it shows the experience you had, how much it means to you, and overall makes you a more complete candidate. I won't say well-rounded because there are a lot of different factors of being there are a lot of different viewpoints on being a well-rounded applicant, but it definitely makes you a more complete applicant in the eyes of the admissions officer. So the first thing is to extracurriculars that you are interested in and actually interested in rather than for a check mark or like a resume or anything like that. Second of all, you should be pretty proactive. Um, there are a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to seek them, and being idle in terms of participation as well as just proactiveness, even outside of the sphere of like a club meeting or anything like that, will definitely help you along the way in I don't know, becoming a leader in such activities and stuff like that.
Okay, so personally, I'm doing some like summer camp stuff, like applications, and they're asking for awards. Like, as a sophomore, I feel like it's kind of hard to get awards right now, especially during Corona. How did you get awards, like personally, and how do you like suppose that someone else should like try to get some awards, especially like in their extracurriculars?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely being a sophomore does make it a little bit more difficult. I know I also did some summer application stuff like that, but like my awards didn't really come until junior year. So stuff like state competitions, I know COVID kind of derailed a lot of it, especially if there are a lot of sophomores here with this year as well as last year, your freshman year. But hopefully junior year, everything will bounce back. So if you can end up going down to state for various competitions and doing well, that definitely counts. Honor societies, especially Spanish, German, French honor societies, they have like the national Spanish exams, national French exams, stuff like that. That definitely also counts as well if you get like a gold level or something like that. Um, I don't know, DECA, VBC, that's something I did. So there are always like little extra things that you can do that are a little bit more competitive that you can always compete in, and those will also always count towards awards. Also community-based things. So if you volunteer somewhere and you get, I don't know, like a volunteer like award or certificate or something like that, that definitely counts as well. It's just award is something that certifies, if that makes sense. It legitimizes what you've done. So anything that I'm obviously anything that you do will be legitimate, it just puts it into writing almost. And if you can find opportunities that you could perhaps further expose yourself into these more of these opportunities, and that will help you along the way in obtaining more of these awards.
And then I was just wondering, like, when you were in high school, did you do any internships possibly?
I don't think so. I did not do an official internship. The only thing I really did was summer after my junior year, I did some stuff at the Brookfield Zoo, which was pretty fun. Taking the train every day during the summer and stuff like that. But again, I know a lot of people will be seeking these internships, which is really good for the extracurricular part of your application, but you really want to be very cognizant of crafting story about yourself as an applicant. So that's where the essays really shine. So it would almost be more useful to have a very strong essay compared to an internship that you don't really talk about, and it seems a little bit more meaningless, so that makes sense.
Okay, and then it's just like talking about like a spike. Like, I'm not sure if like some people here like know what a spike is, but it's like basically one like thing that you like really develop. So then like you're not super well rounded in like all aspects, but like you'll have like one thing that you're really good at that the colleges will like really want you for. because they want to like build a well-rounded freshman class and not just like have well-rounded people. So like, what was your spike, and like what major are you doing right now?
I would say I didn't really have a spike per se. I didn't devote all my time towards one craft in particular. For my, I guess maybe like language learning, perhaps. I'm very active on Duolingo and stuff like that, so I wrote about that in my Common App. Maybe that in particular, but going back to your point about building a well-rounded community, that's essentially what the colleges are looking for. Because if you think about top 20 schools, and there's a lot of problems with top 20 culture and like applying and like shotgunning and all that stuff, but you're going to have a lot of very qualified applicants in terms of academics, but you want to also build a very interesting community filled with a lot of very good individuals, not necessarily just intellect, but also in just like wholehearted nature. And I think that is something that you could definitely develop through your activities, what you're interested in, how you've contributed to the world in some aspect, and just being like a really good natured person with drive and these really nice soft not skills, but like attributes. If you can express that fully through your application, that would definitely set you on a really good track. But right now, I am so we don't declare majors until the end of sophomore year, but I'm an aspiring mathematical data science major. So that's a lot different from what my spike, or quote unquote, what perhaps is my spike is. But definitely college is also definitely a time to explore your different interests as well. So don't feel too restricted by majors and stuff like that you are seeking to pursue now.
And then I just want to know, just like, did you like interact with your teachers a lot during your like junior and senior years? Because like, I know that teacher recommendation letters are a part of the college applications, and like, what's your like input on that? Like, how important really are they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, it was more because I definitely did interact with all my teachers from junior year and senior year. Loved them to death. Miss Altitas, AP4 teacher, Miss Bezic, AP3 teacher, love them. Mr. Yanish used to teach pre-calc and BC at Niqua. He retired now. And then there's Mr. Fox in the math department. There's so many teachers that I've gotten along with, or not gotten along is not the right word for it, but just enjoyed my time with. And I think you have to be able to build the rapport with them, not for the purposes of college application or letters of recommendation. A lot of what gets thrown around, especially in the neighborhood community, is that high school is this is this 4-year stretch in which you're essentially preparing yourself to apply to all these schools, but you also need to remember to enjoy, or make, not necessarily enjoy might not be the best word, but make the most out of the experience while you're in high school, and definitely making sure that you have a good time with your teachers is definitely very helpful. And that definitely also lends itself towards better teacher-student relations, which might make finding teachers to ask writing letters of recommendations for a lot easier in the future. But you definitely don't want to have this goal in mind that, oh, I need to become best friends with this teacher just for a letter of recommendation. That's really fake in some ways, and you're also kind of like, your relationships won't necessarily be developed naturally as a part of that. So always make sure, and there will always be teachers you don't vibe with. Just try to make the most of the relationships with the teachers that you do vibe with. Also, keep in touch with them after you graduate and after you've taken their class. So reach out to your freshman year teachers if you're sophomores here. They love to hear back from you guys and stuff like that. And I can definitely be busy, but it'll definitely make their day and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then just like I know people like talk about like the SATs a lot. Like, how much did you prepare for the SAT, and like Did you also take the ACT?
Yeah, for sure. So I took the SAT twice, as in one was a school SAT, another was SAT the fall of my junior year, and then I took the ACT once. So SAT, I pretty much did Khan Academy stuff. I did not buy any books elsewhere. I did the Khan Academy stuff. And both times I got the same score, and I thought, it might be a good change to, or a good idea to change things up a little bit. So then I took the ACT. I think for strategy's sake, I think it was best to just repeatedly work with practice exams and stuff like that. So Khan Academy has all those practice exams, and you can Google ACT tests, as in like previous examinations that were used as part of the ACT tests that have been like released online as per like, I don't know, like the student question and answer service or whatever. I know I came up upon a Google Drive off of Reddit with 61 those practice ACT tests, and just going through each of those sections were really helpful personally. And I try to minimize my time spent towards those outside of school, meaning that, for example, I knew right away that reading was going to be an issue for me. So what I would do was during option periods when, I don't know, I had some time and whatnot, like people were busy, or like friends were busy, I went to the library, did a reading section. That's 35 minutes that you could do. That's one section of practice that you can definitely do. Just making the most out of your time so you don't have to spend hours on end on your weekends or after school. Practicing that will definitely help. And but yes, I think that would be my biggest piece of advice in terms of preparing for these standardized exams, is that you should find pockets of time during the day rather than like setting hours aside to do them. Because when you are actively trying to set time apart for you to do these exams, you're likely doing these in a very comfortable situation that you've set yourself up for success for, rather than if you're doing it in like some random public place. There are going to be a lot more obstacles you can go through. For example, doing it in the LMC, not the most quiet place during options sometimes, as well as I remember doing it on the train to the Brookfield Zoo. That could be pretty loud, especially with announcements and all that. And while that might be really tedious in the moment, it definitely builds up your tolerance in terms of being able to focus, as well as being able to kind of lock in and just do everything really well. So come exam day, if things do pop up that were unexpected, you won't be caught off guard.
Alright, thanks. That's actually really good advice. And then I just have like a question about college essays. Like I know that college essays are like a huge part. Yeah. Just like when you start writing them, and just like how'd you kind of do it? Like how'd you go through with like the process?
Yeah. So I guess the big part was the Common App essay. It's arguably one of the most important ones, or arguably the most important essay. And I think this is where some of your previous teachers might be of assistance here. So I started my Common App essay the August before my senior year, so right before like college app season kind of kicked off. And I didn't start writing. When you approach these essays, you want to start off with a solid base with ideas and generally where your flows of thought will work through. And then after you get through that part, it's really just about translating your thoughts into words. And that becomes a whole lot easier than if you're trying to pull something out of thin air. So whenever you are going through your daily life, if you think of something that might even remotely be a really good idea, maybe record it down. Start a Google Doc with possible essay ideas. If you think of something that might work, write it down so you don't forget it for later. And then every once in a while, go back, look through all these ideas. If you can build off of them, great. Maybe, I don't know, do like another bullet point underneath about how you would expand upon this. And then little by little, you will build yourself a story that will give a little glimpse about yourself into to your admissions officers and all that. And then that is like a really good start to your essay process. And then afterwards, when you start writing, maybe um, um, I would say you could go online and look at practice, or like not practice, but like example essays that went really well. I know like Johns Hopkins has like a whole database full of them that will tell you generally what kind of like essay you kind of want to write, but also don't feel restricted by that. If you have a really unique take, go for it. I know my friend in particular did a very unconventional essay and she did really well in this process as well. So there are definitely more traditional ways, but there are also more untraditional ways that you can go about it. And sometimes those untraditional ways can either pay off or go really poorly. And that's where you might want to start, I don't know, reaching out to old English teachers and stuff and people like that. So your AP3 teachers or CP3 teachers from junior year, they could probably give really good advice on not only proofreading and grammar and flow and stuff like that, but also ideas. Because let's face it, they've been working on Equal for how long now? They probably had a lot of students come through with the same questions and stuff like that. And this also goes back to the building up really good relationships with your teachers and making sure that you are really easy, not necessarily easygoing. You want to have like a really friendly friendship as much as a student and teacher can have without it like crossing boundaries and stuff like that. But that definitely can help make it easier for you.
Oh, and then we just got a gift from Zoom, so they removed the 40-minute time limit apparently.
Oh, very good.
And then one like last question before like this will be like over, and then someone just wants to know, did you stay consistent through your high school years, or was there like kind of like a comeback where like you had like a surge of just like motivation or anything?
I would say there was a bit of a surge, but not necessarily motivation, but maybe proactiveness. I was very passive my freshman year in terms of, I don't know, reaching out for opportunities and stuff like that. Sophomore year kind of amped it up a little bit. Junior year was really when I actually, yeah, junior year, I definitely, every year was definitely a step up in terms of being more proactive and reaching out, like looking for opportunities, stuff like that. And I think that's definitely something that you should develop not only for high school and college admissions, but it'll definitely be a lot more useful in college as well. In college, you're no longer looking to get into, or unless you're like for like graduate school and all that, but most likely you'll be looking for a job after you graduate college. It's not like you're transitioning to another educational space, which is very structured and you have to apply and all that. When you're looking for a job, it's definitely a lot less structured in the fact that, oh, you have to reach out to potential people that you want to network with. You have to reach out to employers and stuff like that. And that was something that was fostered into me through the years of high school, progressing from like the beginning half where it's definitely, oh, there's all these things, I can do them later, or I don't necessarily have to look for all these things because I don't know, they're like, I'm really happy with what I have right now. But definitely throughout high school, that definitely amped up a little bit.
Okay, and then I think this will be the last question for this Zoom meeting. Is there just like anything that like you may regret, anything you want us to really know about college apps, or like just like looking back on high school, is there like something that like you would tell all of us that you think that we should know?
I think you should really ask yourself what you want out of this process, what you really want, because so just especially when it comes to like early decision and all that, do you really want to ED somewhere? Or when you're applying to specific programs, do you really want to go to this school? Because a lot of times I'll be talking to people and they're talking about all these schools they want to apply to, and they won't go to some of these. Like if they had to go to any of these schools, they wouldn't go. So why would you put yourself in that kind of position? That saves a lot of time. And it's also really good for life as well. You really want to ask yourself what you're doing, why are you doing it? It's good. Like if your answer is, oh, I really want to just explore this field, that's definitely real. That's definitely a valid point as well. That's definitely really good. Just trying to find yourself, but you really shouldn't be doing anything purposelessly. And always make the most out of your time as well. Your limited time in a day, there's only 24 hours. You should be spending at least 8 of them sleeping, and the other 8 will be in school and you're busy focused on everything else. But always be very meaningful with what you set out to do.
All right, thanks. I just want to just like say just like thank you for just like coming here and like taking like 30 something minutes out of your day and just like helping us with like this project and also just like with our own just like college application like endeavors. And I just want to say just like good luck to you at Dartmouth, and like I hope you do well and just like figure like everything out there like, in college and like with Corona. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. And I know Nikwa went back to in-person learning this past week. So if you are in person, stay safe and all that. You know, health is always first. If you're not healthy, you can't do anything. But I wish you guys all the best in your journey through the next few years. I know you guys will all do really well. And stay safe, stay healthy, work hard, and all will be well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You.